Bruchim Aboyim B'Shem Irgun Shir Torah. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's shir. All the men here in the main shul, all the women upstairs and downstairs, everyone tuning in through the phone system and watching through the live broadcast. Bruchim Aboyim. We'd like to give a big yesher koach to Mr. and Mrs. Mendel Weinstein for sponsoring tonight's shir. Lili Nishmas, Lili Neshama, Sarabas, Menachem Mendel, Yotzai Chavdal Rov, Klana Miskamal ben David, Fege Bas Mordechai, Yosef ben Mordechai, Avram Leib ben Pinchas David, Yitzchak Isaac ben David, Yehuda Aryeh ben Ephraim, Aleim HaShalom. I'd like to remind the Olam Irgun Shir Torah's annual dinner is coming up in just 2 short nights. Shoya Akaras HaTov to Irgun Shir Torah and to the Rabbanim who shiurim we enjoyed come. All men are invited to participate in the dinner, Young Israel Avenue K, starting at 7 p.m. If you didn't make a pledge yet, you can still call in tonight. Tomorrow, 718-851-8651. Email tablecenter@yeshivanet.com. Tonight we have the cover tab with us, Rabbi Yerachmiel Milstein, Rav Kal Isha Yisrael Lakewood, to speak on Hashem's 6-point plan for guaranteed success. It's my cover to call on Rabbi Milstein for tonight's drasha.
Thank you very much. It's a tremendous cover to be here. Also somewhat intimidating. I think the last few times I was here and sitting where you're sitting, I came to hear Reb Shlomo Pearl Zechariah Levracha. He used to enthrall us with his shiurim, and he was mamish. Who knew? We knew him many, many years before, and we saw afterwards what koiches he had. I also want to thank the Weinsteins, my good friends, for sponsoring tonight. Please send them my very best regards. And thank you to Irgun Shir Torah for asking me to be here. It's humbling, it's intimidating, but the show goes on, as they say. The emes is that there's no machlokes among all of the Rishonim about how many mitzvahs there are. There are plenty of machlokes about what is included in the Taryag mitzvahs. But in terms of the number Taryag is a number, and it's a very important number, and everyone agrees upon it. So there's Taryag mitzvahs, there's a set of mitzvahs that's called Taryag. It's a group, and it's called Taryag. But there's a subset of the Taryag. And the subset of the Taryag are called the Sheish Mitzvahs Tamidiyos. And you have this in the Sefer HaChinuch, and you have it right away in the beginning in the Bir Halacha, in Shulchan Aruch. The Sefer HaChinuch talks about the Sheish Mitzvahs. The Rambam, there's Sheish Mitzvahs Tamidiyos, a subset that has its own category called the 6 constant mitzvahs, the Sheish Mitzvahs Tamidiyos. So what is the pshat? What can we understand about the fact that the Torah categorizes 6 as different from others? And what does it mean to be a Tamidi? What does it mean that a mitzvah is a Tamidi? The entire Torah is obligatory. All the mitzvahs are obligatory. So what's pshat that these are called Tamidim? They're constant mitzvahs. So the truth is a constant mitzvah is different than other mitzvahs in that a constant mitzvah means that it's obligatory 365, 24/7, and you're drawing down schar 365, 24/7. That's what makes it a constant. So what is a constant? Is the Isser of Achilas Chazir, is that a constant? It's not a constant. Why is it not a constant? Well, there's no Chazir available, or you have no time to do it. At that point, you're not drawing down schar. So Mitzvah Achilas is not a constant. What about Shabbos? 1 day a week. It's also not a constant. So if there are Sheish Mitzvahs Tamidiyos, it means that these 6 mitzvahs are constant in that a person is relating to these mitzvahs constantly, 365, 24/7. So before we go into what it's all about, let's try for a moment a svara, a balbatish svara, as to why HaKadosh Baruch Hu would give us Sheish Mitzvahs Tamidiyos. Why would he take 6 mitzvahs and make them different in that they're constant, as opposed to the rest of the mitzvahs that are not constant? What's the insight, what's the lesson that we learn from it? Now, the emes is that we don't really know why HaKadosh Baruch Hu does things. That even the Tamei HaMitzvah that he gives us, especially seems that way from the Chinuch, it means Tamei HaMitzvah, flavor for the mitzvah. It's not a cause and effect relationship. That's not what it is. Because ultimately, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's intelligence, insight, is far and beyond anything that we could begin to appreciate. And therefore, when it says a tam, it means an insight. But nonetheless, is there some lesson to be learned from this? What do we derive from the fact that there are 6 mitzvahs that are constant? So I'm sure you all know, there's a pasuk in Iyuv. Iyuv says, Mi b'sarai echazer leka. From my flesh I can gaze upon HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in Klal Yisrael, this has been taken to mean that if you ever have a ruchnius question, a question about HaKadosh Baruch Hu kiviyachol, that you don't have an answer to, it's very mysterious. Perhaps if there's a parallel question in the physical world, the answer that might apply in the physical world could be a mashal for understanding the parallel question in the Olam HaRuchni. So in the physical world, are there things that we do constantly? What is it that a human being does constantly? We breathe. What else do we do constantly? Eat, hopefully not as much as breathing. Right? We drink, right? The things we have to do constantly. So perhaps, and I'm just conjecturing here, it's a balabatische Zugang, so you forgive me, but perhaps what breathing and eating and drinking are for the body, the sheish mitzvahs are for the neshama. And it's very clear to me, that these sheish mitzvahs to midyos, they are extremely vital for the neshama. And it's very clear to me that what makes us people and human is the fact that we have a neshama. An animal also has a guf. So therefore, I came up with this idea that Hashem's 6-point plan to be an efficacious and effective and a successful human being. What these things are, again, what breathing and breathing are for the guf, these are for the neshama. So Mela, to be a successful neshama, which again, what makes us humans the neshama, we have to have these 6 things. So here is the question I can pose for you. So there are 6 mitzvahs and only 6 mitzvahs in the Torah that are constant mitzvahs. And it means that they're constant, that you're constantly obligated. So the question is, how many of us know what they are? If I asked you, there's no test here tonight, don't get nervous, but if I asked you to rattle off, to repeat for me the sheish mitzvahs to midyos, okay, by show of hands, don't say, but how many of you think you know the sheish mitzvahs to midyos? Raise your hand. Very good. That's better than most. Yeah? What's going on here? What is going on? How is it possible that there are mitzvahs that are 365:27 obligatory, right? And we don't know what they are. So because of this reason, Rabbi Noach Weinberg Zechat Tzadik Levracha asked me about 25 years ago to put together a short shir that will expose people to the sheish mitzvahs to midyos. Not that we'll teach them what every mitzvah is, because we can very well spend a lifetime on any one mitzvah and not finish. You know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Torah is endless, right? Aruka Me'eretz Midah, right? So what we're going to do tonight is, what I'm going to present to you, my response to Rabbi Noach Weinberg, when he asked me to come up with basically a 45-minute approach to expose people, at least, to give people some sort of connection with the sheish mitzvahs to midyos, and that's what we're going to do here tonight. In my own mind, I said, why is it that people then don't know what they are? Why is this so ugefrem from us? I mean, you can imagine if a mitzvah chalila was to be forgotten, another mitzvah of the Torah. You'd have an organization that would spring up, and there would be mechazik that mitzvah. Chas v'shalom, people forgot the mitzvah of lulav. You'd have a vad, lachzakas mitzvahs lulav. Yeah, somebody would get up. Remember Rabbi Yosef Rosenberger with Shatnez? Yeah, he started the Shatnez laboratory, and what he did, look, he was machzer at Torah Liyashna. So expect if there's a mitzvah that's forgotten, you'd have a whole organization that gets up to be mechazik the mitzvah. And they'd have a board of directors, and they have elections, and they have votes, and they have a dinner once a year, and they have advertisements, and they have, a video on Tisha B'Av, or maybe another day, right? Maybe on Chol Motzukos, Lulav, right? Whatever, but it would be, right? And there's nothing, right? What a mitzvah of Hafrashas Chala. The Neshayis Chayil of Klal Yisrael have taken upon themselves Chala, the Mechazik, the mitzvah recently. It's unbelievable. And it wasn't forgotten, but it's an organization, and they do about it, but it was forgotten. You can imagine the ishtadlus that people would make to try to bring back the mitzvah of Hafrashas Chala, Hafla Fella. So those mitzvahs are not forgotten, but these are. Why are those mitzvahs not forgotten? And the answer is very, very simple. Because a lulav you shake, and a challah you bake, and a shake and bake mitzvah you don't forget. It's something that you do with your guf. And a mitzvah that you do with your guf, you do be a diet, you don't forget that. But we're soon going to find out that the sheish mitzvahs to midyos are mitzvahs that have to do with machshava primarily. It's ma'aseh there too. But primarily machshava. And machshava is not very popular in 2018. We don't like to think. We're okay with doing, but we don't like to think. We don't want to really be mizbainen, to be misamik in something. That's something that's becoming lost to us. And perhaps that's the reason that people don't even know what they are. So I thought to myself, if I could show people how to use the sheish mitzvahs to midyos in something which is lemaisa, like success, people are going to listen. If I could show you how to use the sheish mitzvahs to midyos to be successful in any area of your life, in any endeavor you'd like to undertake, I will show you how to use the sheish mitzvahs to midyos to be successful. You interested now? Of course we're interested. Everybody wants to be successful. So that's how this presentation came about. That's how it came about. that I was trying to find a way to expose people to Sheish Mitzvahs Tmidiyos, to give people a connection to the Schar 365, 24/7 from any constant mitzvah, and in a way that they're listening and they're motivated and they want to hear it. So I said, how to use the Sheish Mitzvahs Tmidiyos to be successful in any endeavor of your life. Of course, probably it's meant to be successful in your ruchnias. Obviously, it's meant, it's Torah. So obviously, it's meant to bring you closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Sheish Mitzvahs Tmidiyos, in fact, are things that you could use successfully in any area of your life and draw down reward 365/27. Okay, that's a pretty big buildup, right? So let's understand what the Sheish Mitzvahs Tmidiyos are. And I'm giving you a caveat, and the caveat is we're not going to define any mitzvah. You know, in Gemara, you often have something you have, Avos and Toldos. What we're going to attach to these mitzvahs can even be a Tolda to Tolda sometimes. And if you want to really learn up the Sheish Mitzvahs Tmidiyos the way you're supposed to, there are a number of Sfarim that were recently written. Of course, the Chavetz Chaim talks about it in the Sefer Mitzvah Katzer. And you could go to the Chinuch, and you can go talk to the first Bialacha, and you start learning and look at the Rambam, Hilchos Deis. There's a lot to be learned about it. But all we're doing tonight is I'm giving us a convenient attachment to them so that we'll know them, so that we'll remember them, and that we can start using them right away, despite the fact that we don't have a full definition of any one mitzvah, which could in fact take a lifetime for any one mitzvah. So certainly in space of 45 minutes, I can't give you anything deeper on the Sheish Mitzvahs Tmidiyos. So you forgive me for that. The first of the Sheish Mitzvahs Tmidiyos is Leida Ulahamin Shiesha Meleka. The reason I use two words, the Rambam in the Sefer HaMitzvahs only has one expression, and really it's been interpreted to mean Lahamin by the Ibn Taban, the Mishpacha that translated from Arabic, because as you know, the Rambam wrote the Sefer HaMitzvahs in Arabic. He wrote the Minyan HaMitzvahs in Arabic. So Lamaisa, they translate to mean Lahamin. The Ramchal came along and said no, that really the mitzvah is Leida to know. Leida, so we say today, Khalil, we don't want to embrace any one side over the other. Who are we? Say, Leida Ulahamin Sheish El Melika. To know and to believe that there's a Borei Olam. To establish as fact in our minds that there is a Borei Olam. Not besfakers, but to establish as a fact in our minds that a HaKadosh Baruch Hu exists. So you're going to ask me, how can I use that to be more successful in another area of my life? Let's say to be more successful in business. So let me share with you what I believe to be the number one factor that separates the people who are successful from those who are not, given that they may have similar backgrounds, experience, education, talents, and skills. But one will be very successful, one will not. And the word is called motivation. We can assume that motivation is something that allows us to overcome challenges that otherwise would fail us, that otherwise would make us a failure. So motivation is very, very critical. And without Emunah B'tachon HaKadosh Baruch Hu, without believing there's a HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there can be no real motivation. Allow me to explain. Many years ago, I started working with at-risk youth. And I was out on the streets here in Flatbush. And I met a young man on the streets. Unfortunately, he was pretty far gone from his roots. But I tried to make friends with him. We were schmoozing a little bit. We'll call him Yitzi, not his real name. And Yitzi and I hit it off on the streets. And we said hello. When we made up, we'd meet again. 3 days later, I get a call from Yitzi's mother. She said that Yitzi went to a party. And at the party, he ingested certain substances that made him very, very high. And when the high from that substance came down, when the high became diminished, he went into an awful, awful depression. And in fact, he's been in bed for the last 3 days, and there's not much sleep to get him out of bed. He hasn't eaten, he hasn't drunk anything, nothing for 3 days. He won't see a doctor, he won't let her call Hatzolah, nothing. He said the only thing that she could get him to agree to was if Rabbi Milstein would come see him. I said, okay, that was in my early days, I still made house calls. So I went to the house, and Yitzi's lying there in bed with the covers drawn over his face. I go into the room. I'm thinking he's sleeping probably, so I try to be very, very positive, motivational. I say, Yitzi, come on, it's me, it's Milstein. I just leased a new car. Come in the car, I'll take you out, we'll go bowling. Ein koil ve'einoina, nothing, he's silent. So I figured he's sleeping. So I walk over to him, and I peel the covers gently from his face, and his eyes are wide open. I say, Yitzi, it's me, come on. Let's get out of bed, and let's go have a good time. And Yitzi responded, gave me an answer that was brilliant if one is Khalil an atheist. He said, what for? What does that mean? What for? What does an atheist think? He thinks that the world is a giant accident. And I happen to evolve into one of these. And a cockroach happened to evolve in a cockroach, but really there's no difference between us. It's all a giant accident. If the world is a giant accident, there's no rhyme or reason or purpose for the entire universe. The entire cosmos is basically a mistake. It's an accident that happened. Therefore, if you think about it, what is so important about this challenge that I have that I don't feel like getting out of bed, that I should get out of bed? Why is that challenge important enough that I pay attention to it when the entire universe has no purpose to it? For an atheist, he's right. But the first mitzvah is that there's a Bari Olam with unlimited energy, unlimited power, unlimited genius, unlimited ability, unlimited awareness. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu took and he created this globe we call the Earth, which is only one tiny part of one galaxy, of which there's 150 billion galaxies. And he gave it a good spin, this Earth. And he pivoted in a way where we have because of the way it spins, and the way the sun is set, and the way all the planets are ausgestellt, that we have winter, spring, summer, and fall. And he gave it that spin, and it's still spinning pretty good today. And he created billions of people in this world. And all those billions of people, they have challenges to them. So it can't be that my challenge of not wanting to get out of bed is any less important in the entire universe, because it's the same creator that created both. We don't think of ourselves that way. But when Chazal tells B'shvili Nivra Olam, what does it mean? It means that anything that happens to you is no less important than the entire cosmos. It's the same Bari Olam running both. It's the same HaKadosh Baruch Hu, busy kaviyachol, it's not busy of course, doing both. So it's got to be the challenge that I have is hafla fela mamish in terms of the meaningfulness. It's the very meaning of the universe itself. It's the same Bari Olam. And when Chazal tell us, L'olam yagdim shalom, do you have any idea what it means to be magdim shalom to somebody? You have any idea what it means? L'kabel b'sei rapodim yafais? It's cosmic, Rabbi Isai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us to do that. There's not a step that you take. There's not an action that you take that is not as important as the entire cosmos. You want motivation? I'll give you motivation. So you get up in the morning, and let's even just go to work. A person's misfarnis ishta yabanav is velachta bedrachav. If a person's going out and he's misasek be'amona, he's handling erlich, he's making kiddush Hashem. There's nothing that you do which is unimportant. There's nothing that you do that's not dvarim ha'oimdim beruma shel olam mamish. Leido lahamin sheyesh malika. But still, you see a lot of people from Jews, they don't look so motivated. In fact, some of them look downright apathetic. They have apathy. So Voltmundach Gemalt meaning that they're really good Jews at everything else, and they have everything that's going for them. Just one thing is they have trouble being apathetic. Rabbi Isai, if someone is apathetic, he's not connecting his Torah mitzvah to the Bari Olam. He has a problem with his Leid Ulaham and Sheyesh Malika. And by the way, there's no shortage of people that I've met who are fully practicing Yidden, Torah Yidden, wonderful Yidden, and go to Shiurim. And when they talk to me privately, they say, I'm not so sure. I'm really not so sure. I give them credit that they admit it. So you should know years ago when someone wasn't sure, oy vavoy, I mean, what did you do? But today, we have a whole Kiruv community, and the Kiruv community spends its time basically demonstrating the Amitas HaTorah to people. Now, I believe that if someone has what they call Amunah Pshuta, whether it's accurate, that description or not, we talk about that another time, another shir, we give a whole shir on it. But when people have Amunah Pshuta, they say, you know what, Ich will God, that's great. As long as you've established HaKadosh Baruch Hu's existence in your mind as fact, that's great. But what if you're having trouble with that? So about 25 years ago, I spoke in Denver, Colorado, at a Kiruv retreat. And the Rosh Yeshiva, one of the Rosh Yeshiva of the Denver Yeshiva was there. And so he asked me, after I gave my shmooze over there at the Kiruv seminar, I should come to the yeshiva, give the shmooze in the Beis Medrash the next day. So I told him, I said, I don't know if you want, these are yeshiva kids, they come from homes. Do you want to be Ma'ir or Chalila? So he looks at me, he says, you don't get it, do you? He says, there was a time when nobody had any questions. You don't have any questions, you shouldn't talk about this stuff. But every kid in my yeshiva's got the questions. It's an aveira not to give them the answer. So if you have Emunah Pshuta, if you have Emes Emunah, Ashreichem, it's gewaldig. The Pinta Liyid, I can show you as far, and I hold by it. The Siva Shalom talks over and over again about it's a siyata d'shmaya that you have, that if a person has Emes Emunah, it's b'siyata d'shmaya. It's b'siyata d'shmaya, which is gewaldig. But if you're one of those people who's not sure, go get yourself some answers. If you are sure, please don't. But if you are not sure, be mechazik yourself. And then you could do a mitzvah with passion. Do a mitzvah with energy. Do a mitzvah knowing that every single mitzvah that you do is something that helps you connect to the Bari Olam. So the first mitzvah is Le'ed Olaha Mashiach Melika. You want to apply it in your regular life, your business life. Understand if you're going to work. And whatever you're going to do it well. Whatever you do it well. Whatever you do, if it's a davar toiv, even if it's not maybe someone sitting alone in Kailo, he's not zeichet to that anymore, he's going out to the world, then go out and make a Kiddush Hashem. Go out and change the world, but do it with passion and with energy and connected to the Bari Olam. There's nothing that you do that's not connected. That's mitzvah number one. Mitzvah number two of the Sheish Mitzvahs Tamidius is Ein Zulasai. If mitzvah number one comes from the pasuk Anech Hashem Elokecha Asher Tzisicha Me'eretz Mitzrayim, which again HaKadosh Baruch Hu presented as a fact, it was a reality. So mitzvah number one is reality. Mitzvah number two is Ein Zulasai. There's no power outside of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So you might say to yourself, once Anech Hashem Elokecha, in the Gaish world that's called monotheism. Monotheism means one automatically. So what do you mean Ein Zulasai? There's no other power. What does it mean? So Rabbi Yerachmiel Milstein used to say, David HaMelech paraphrases the second of the Aseret HaDibros, which is Lo Yiyeh Lecha Lehimer Achirim Al Panai. David HaMelech paraphrases it. We say it in Yom Sheni. Lo Yihiyeh Becha Elzar. So Rabbi Noach says, what does it mean, Liyeh Becha Elzar? What does it mean inside of you? So Rabbi say, every one of us, we have a little bit of an ego. It's a universal. The Torah tells us over and over again that we're going to have problems, success, especially when we're successful. Vayishman Yeshurun, Vayivat. It's a Yetzer Hara that exists. If the second mitzvah is a lo yisaseh, the first mitzvah is a mitzvah say, the second one is a lo yisaseh, it means that you have a Yetzer Hara about this lo yisaseh all the time. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a Tamidi. Am I right? So it means there's a constant Yetzer Hara that we have, somehow that we should think that we're in charge. That we should think that we are the people who are running the universe. Lo yiyeh becha el zar, there's an ego inside of us. And that ego very often can somehow give us the illusion that we're in charge. I'll give you a mashal, a story that happened to me when I was a kid in Camp Magen Avram, many years ago. The old Magen Avram in Central Valley, New York. If anybody knew where that is, raise your hand. I know you did. You were there, right? Who else is there? You in Central Valley. Okay, Central Valley, New York, right? No indoor plumbing. Remember that, right? Okay, remember that. Remember that well, right? 75? No, a lot earlier than that. So to make a long story short, there were no, like high-tech activities. Today, camps have go-karts, which is already old really. But they have electronic stuff. Nothing like that in my day. My day was baseball. It was morning baseball. Baseball. So I was in bunk Dalet, and we had a kid in our bunk who was an unbelievable slugger. He was unbelievable at the plate. Anytime he walked up, he could hit on the park at will. So what happened was we were winning so many games that we weren't playing bunk Haid and bunk Vav. We were playing like bunk Yud Aleph. And we were winning them because this one kid, he was unbelievable. He's an unbelievable kid. Fine. One day he's up, and tragedy strikes because there was a trip change. So some kids stayed, some kids go home. I stayed. I guess my parents didn't want me home. He stayed. His parents definitely want him home, right? But other kids changed. So now the kids in the other bunks is a new group of kids. So for the first time, he's facing a pitcher that he has never seen before. So he gets up at the plate. Now he's a little kid. He's expecting to hit it out as always. But this pitcher, he'd never seen him before. And he threw him, fanned him on 3 straight pitches. You should see what happened to this kid. How disappointing. He took the bat and he threw it on the ground. He was so upset. A few innings later, he's up again. Same thing happens. He's fanned on 3 straight pitches. This time, he was very frum. He said, Hashem, why did you do this to me? A couple innings later, he's up again. He's seen the pitcher twice before. First pitch comes down the pike, hits it out of the park, hits a home run. Now, when this kid was running around the bases, what do you think he said then? No. You know what he said? Yeah! Right I don't know. I don't think that was invented yet in those days. But right, right. What happened to Hashem? You know, when we're in trouble, it's such an amazing thing how close Hashem is to us. It's like a local call. But suddenly when we do well, oh yeah, wow, aren't I smart? Aren't I great? Aren't I gewaldig? Rabbi Isai, it's the Yetzer Hara we have. Vazal Menton, it's the Yetzer Hara we have. So Rabbi Noach Weim Zechron Livracha always used to say, he says, it's incumbent upon a person when he's matzliach in life not to let it get to your head and never to take credit for your success. Don't take credit for your success. Take pleasure in your success. Take pleasure that the Borei Olam ran the universe in a way to make sure that you were successful today. It's a matana from the Borei Olam. But don't you say you take success from it. Take pleasure. Take pleasure. Say, everybody loves me. That's a beautiful thing to do. But to take credit for your success, there's a big problem, a psychological and business problem that you have when you take success. Because if you take success for you take credit for your success, then guess what? You have to take the blame for your failure. And when a person feels like a failure over and over again, what does he stop doing? He gets frustrated, he stops trying. And that's when we lose. The game is not over as long as you're trying. Don't get frustrated. If you're to take credit for your successes in life, then you have to take credit for your failures. Take credit for failures, you get frustrated. So we should not look at life and try to figure out what can I do to maximize my success. Because success belongs to the Borei Olam. Liya Kesef, Liya Zav, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, success belongs to him. But what we could do is figure out is what I'm doing concentric with the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then I go in a batter's box and I swing away. I don't care how many times I struck out. If Hashem wants me there, then I do it. If it's something I shouldn't be doing, I get away from there. Go someplace else. Taking credit for our success is a very, very negative thing. It's a very negative thing. And ultimately, it does absolutely no good for a person. And therefore, it's critical and incumbent upon every single one of us that when a davar tov happens to us, yimatzliach, to ascribe it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I read different shmuzin about the concept of ayin hara, and people talk about ayin hara being an act that removes one's endeavors from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, I saw, according to one of the Belza Choshev Yidden, he writes a lot for Rabbi Friedman. So therefore he says, you shouldn't say kinahara. When you have something that you were successful in, say Baruch Hashem, tie it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and you'll be more successful. The tachlis hachayim is everything that happens in our life, Re'ei, Anoichi, Noisin, Lefnechem, Hayoim, Bracha, Kol, it all comes from the Borei Olam. Everything comes from the Borei Olam. So if you're successful today, thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Say, Rebbeinu Shalom, thank you for giving me this hatzlacha. But not chas v'shalom, you take credit. Because you take credit, then you have to take credit for your failures as well. When you take credit for your failures, what happens is at some point you get frustrated and you stop trying. And that's the biggest failure of all. So it's critical. The second mitzvah is, Ein zu l'asoi no par v'kadosh baruch hu. How powerful is this mitzvah? I'm sure many of you heard the following story. The Brisker Rav, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, when he was still in Europe, and it was getting very dangerous, people could not remain anymore. There were still people who looked out for the Brisker Rav, and they gave him travel papers. So he'd be able to leave Europe before the Holocaust. And the Brisker Rav promptly, whenever he got those papers, he would take the papers and give it to someone that he knew would not be saved otherwise. And the kids looked on as the Brisker Rav was doing this. So the kid said, Tata, was it metuns? He says, metuns? When it's time to go, we're going to go. The Rebbeinu Shalom is going to take care of us. So what happened was, when it got too dangerous for them to remain, so they decided to travel. They first on trains and then on boats. To make a long story short, they had no papers. So there's a story circulating that I heard that the Brisker Rav taught the children that any time that someone is going to, it seems like he's going to demand papers, they should all be mechaber on ein oid mavadai. The school of Neira that's in Klal Yisrael for many generations, ein oid mavadai. And from there, the way I heard the story, they made it mamish all the way from Europe to Eretz Yisrael with ein oid mavadai. So, there are people that tell you if you believe every story you hear, bistanar, you're a fool, right? If you don't believe any story, bistanar pikairis. So with this story, I wasn't sure what to do with. So at the Eibishter Geholfen, a number of years ago, my son was learning Reb David Soloveitchik. So I figured I went to Israel to find out how my son was learning. And I sat down, I asked Reb David if the stories I'm saying. Now, I'll be honest with you, I have to be very honest, full disclosure, he didn't hear very well, and I'm not 100% sure that he heard every word that I said. But Lamaisa, I was screaming into his ear, and I told him the story, and he's smiling, and then I said, Is dos emes? And he looks at me, and he says the following. He says, Is dos emes? He says, there was once we're on a train, and the train was crossing a border in Russia. or Russian-controlled area. And the train stopped. It was an empty car. There was no one else on the train. It was just us sitting in the car. And this inspector gets on, and he comes to our car, and he's walking to us to check our papers. And we were terrified, and we were crying to our father. So the Tat hat gesagt, someone's not being mechaven. He was mechazik us, and the guy walked right by us like nothing, like we weren't even there. That's the story. You see how powerful this is? To live with Eina Milvada? Now, I'm not suggesting the next time you take public transportation that you shouldn't pay your fare. Take your fare, you should pay your fare, 100%. Right? It's the shtadlus you have to do. But look at the potential power of this. It's mamash power. I'm sure many of you have stories with Eina Milvada as well, as we do in my family. So the second mitzvah is the mitzvah of angel aside. There's no power outside of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Which brings us to mitzvah number 3. Yichud Hashem, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. This mitzvah especially, I'm not going to give you any pashut pshat in the mitzvah. I'm going to give you a tolda de tolda. We all know what it means. Echad, no chalakim. You'll do all your research. You'll learn on your own, Be'ez Hashem. But I want to give you one aspect that sticks out to me as being a tremendous tool for success. And that is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is one, meaning He's consistent. We as people, we're not consistent. And it is one of the greatest failings that we have, that we are inconsistent in our lives. That we make excuses for things. That somehow we have 50 different reasons why it is that we don't measure up to our own goals. We have 50 different excuses why it is that we didn't accomplish what we knew we could accomplish. We make excuses for ourselves all of the time, and it's a terrible thing to do. Imagine you get a job in a particular business. They tell you 90% of your job performance depends upon whether you come to work on time or not, because they want you to open the office. 90% depends on that. So you're going to be very careful. The very first day you come to work, you get there at 8:40. Have to be at 9 o'clock, 8:40 you're there. Boss is very proud of you. He says, that's the way I like it. Terrific. You open it, everything terrific. Next day you come at 9:05. The boss says, my high. He says, listen, I left 20 minutes earlier this morning than yesterday morning. But the train came to a stop in the tunnel, and there was nothing to be done. I couldn't even call. I couldn't do anything about it. So I'm really, really sorry, but tomorrow I'm going to leave even a half hour earlier than that. He says, terrific, okay, good excuse, no problem, but please make sure it doesn't happen again. Remember, 90% of your performance based upon. Next day comes in, you come in at 9:20. You say, what happened today? He says, boss, you're not going to believe this, but the dog ran off with my shoes. Can't come to work barefoot. I had to wait till the store opened. I was first guy in line. I came right over. Boss looks, he says, pretty good excuse, what should I tell you? But I need to be on time. Next day, you come in at 10 o'clock. He says, what happened today? He doesn't wait for the answer. He says, nice guy, great excuses, you're fired. Excuses don't get you anywhere. So an excuse is something that we blame for our failings in life. But sometimes there's something even more than an excuse. Do you ever hear the expression to fudge on something? If you lie to somebody, you're trying to fool them. But when you fudge something, you're trying to fool yourself. Very often in life, we believe that we're trying and we're doing, but we're not really doing. Very often in life, we go ahead and we make excuses that we are so convinced that the reason for our failure is that excuse. You know what it means that Kadosh Baruch Hu is echad? There's no difference between different time periods, between different seasons, between different, whatever matzim in life it is. You have to draw a line in the sand and say, Bizda Gatus. And beyond this, Yavar Lema, I'm going to do better. There's, of course, there's something called an oinus. I'm not saying that. But generally speaking, not to be fooled by these excuses, not to be fudging in your life. It's something that people do all the time and they're not aware of it. I want to tell you something about the Germans, Yamach Shemam. I'm not saying Nazis, Yamach Shemam. It's Avad Yamach Shemam. But people have this fallacy that the Nazis carried off the entire Holocaust, which is not true. There were a small group of people they could not have carried off. They carried off with the full cooperation of the German people. The Germans, Yamach Shemam Zichram, had a perfectly fine set of human rights laws on their books prior to World War II that would prohibit any kind of genocide. Any kind of genocide. And yet, they exterminated 6 million Yidden. Anoshim, Noshim, Betaf. And they didn't break a single one of their laws, because their laws, you see, were called human rights laws. And they declared before World War II that Jews were subhuman. So you see, there's no problem with this. Excuses can take you very far afield from where you want to be. You have a whole educated society that convinces themselves. They convince themselves. So excuses and fudging is a terrible thing. People think that we have to handle erlich with money when we deal with each other. And it's true, we do. If I borrow a quarter from you, I think you're pretty sure I'll pay you back the quarter. But comes April 15th, for many of us, there's a whole different set of rules. Davening with Minyan Erlich. During the winter, but summer vacation. It's the same Rabbeinu Shalom all year long at April 15th. The same Rabbeinu Shalom in New York and in the country. Same Rabbeinu Shalom in New York and in Florida. Wherever, it doesn't make, it's all the same. There's got to be a bottom line, because if there's not a bottom line, then what happens is there's a certain amount of moral creep that takes place. And before you know it, Mahalchem Bezachen Chas v'Sholem Yid should never do. Zahiris in language. It's a big Nisayan today. Got to go to a lot of offices, young people in business, successful, under a lot of pressure. And sometimes you have people saying things. They say words that they shouldn't say. Where does it start from? It starts from Nishkin Fine Eyes Druk, and before you know it, they're still saying terrible things because there's moral creep. And they'll tell you, no, what everybody told. People give all kinds of reasons. But there's got to be a bottom line, a shur tachtoina. And the shur tachtoina is you figure out what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants and what he doesn't want, and you say, Yavra Laima, I'm not budging. I am not budging. I know if some of you heard the talk that Rabbi Rabashkin gave, how he didn't budge one drop in prison, not one drop. And they came around. It was unbelievable. Not one drop. And I was the spoil from this Yid's Gevura. But it's this concept. It says, I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not looking for a way out. I'm looking for a way in. I'm not looking for a way out. So mitzvah number 3 is the mitzvah of Achdus HaBayrei. That Shema Yisrael Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the same in all times and all places, and the seasons and the date. Nothing makes any shinuyim, and changes. You figure out the right thing is and do it. Which brings us to number 4. Mitzvah number 4 is the mitzvah of Ahavas Hashem. To love HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like the pasuk says, V'ahavteis Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'miyadecha. So the question that many people ask when I start teaching about Ahavas Hashem is, how can the Torah obligate me to an emotion? How can the Torah obligate emotion? It's an emotion. Either you feel it or you don't feel it. So anyone who's learned Chavos Havavos, you know a very large part of the Sefer talks about Ahavas Hashem being counting your blessings. Being a hakora of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Toivos with you. Being a cheshbon hanefesh of the chesed HaKadosh Baruch Hu does non-stop with us. Shebechol yom yimanu. That's what Ahavas Hashem is. If a person goes ahead and a person counts his blessings and a person understands that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing this because HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves him, then the feeling of loving HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes b'meila. Which comes out according to this, that the Ma'isa mitzvah and the mitzvah itself are not necessarily the same. The Ma'isa mitzvah is to count your blessings. But the mitzvah is when you have the Agasha. But the mitzvah, he says, of having the Agasha comes automatically when a person walks around all day counting your blessings. How are you going to tell this to Parnasa? Rabbi say it's called positivity. I never met a super positive person who didn't think Hashem loved him. And I never met a depressed person who thought Hashem did. Am I right? When a person walks around in life and he's counting his blessings, what is the result of that? The result is that despite the fact that I may have problems in my life, but my life is wonderful, and I'm going to love the one who gave me the wonderful life. But if a person's krachting all day, a person has zogt sich the ganze Zeit, he's walking around worried. They think that Beit Slonim, and Beit Slonim, I think they said, as me bet gitmin, am zorgt gitmin nicht. To ask from your Tate, Avada, bet my Tate in Himmel. But Arum geht Sorgensach? Word? No. Atzvus. Ivdu es Hashem besimcha. The worst Teicher Rachmana Litzlan comes, Tachas Hashem lekecha besimcha v'tevlever. Bereiv kol. That's the worst Teicher. That's the worst thing. That's the signature on the entire Teicher. Look at it. It's Hafla Fella. Which means that we're obligated to walk around and counting the blessings in our life and counting all the chasadim HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for us. And when you do that, you walk away with the heritage that Hashem loves me. Hashem loves you. It's very easy to love him back. This is critical for success in life. 2 salesmen are selling pencils on opposite street corners in Manhattan. And one of them is standing there, and he's a very depressed guy. You want to buy a pencil? It's like so much negative energy. So let me try the guy across the street. They say, hey, you want to buy a pencil? Maybe. But the other guy, certainly not. Right? We are repelled by people who are extremely negative. It doesn't work at me. You ever saw a salesman who walks around depressed? There's no such thing. I don't care how difficult the salesman's life is. When he makes a sale, he comes in with the ganze simcha with a smile on his face. Ahavas Hashem is energy. Ahavas Hashem is energizing. Ahavas Hashem gives us koyach. Ahavas Hashem gives us the ability to live life and to see the problems and the issues that we have as isolated events that they are. But there's no question that Kadosh Baruch Hu is giving us and giving us. And if you have any doubt about that, do you ever stop to think of how many colors you can see with your eyes? Anyone have an answer? How many colors, how many shades of color and colors can a person differentiate between using his eyes? Anybody know? 24? It's a little short. Ready? It's 16.8 billion. I'm not talking about the brain. The brain is far more sophisticated. But the eye, in terms of the pixelation, we know about cameras today, right? They have all kind of pixels, millions and millions is nourish. What's that for? It's not for your pleasure. There are plenty of people colorblind. They do fine. Every mammal in the universe other than human being is colorblind. The goats do pretty good, don't they? What's it for? It's not for your pleasure. Take a moment. HaKadosh Baruch Hu changes the wallpaper every season in the world. Not in Los Angeles, but in New York he does. Right? Winter, spring, summer, fall, different things. The blooming in the spring and the fall with the orange of the flowers and the winter with the snow. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Take a minute. Because Baruch Hu could have put you in a world that's gray and there's no shinuyim at all. It's how many taste experiences you have. Anybody like music over here? What's music for? I don't know. What's it for? Anything on your survival based upon music? Certainly not. It's nourish. Take a moment and count your blessings. That really, Kadosh Baruch Hu loves you. Kadosh Baruch Hu adores you. Kadosh Baruch Hu is giving you a world that's beautiful, that's magnificent. Take a moment to notice. Count your blessings. And if you do that, the feeling of loving Kadosh Baruch Hu comes mimela. Which brings us to number 5. Number 5 is the mitzvah of Yiras Hashem. Some of you are ready to get up now and walk out. Havas Hashem, I can get into that. But Yiras Hashem, and it's a constant. What does it mean, a constant? I know by Ahavas Hashem constantly is to constantly count your blessings. And by the way, it's a great thing. If someone has a truly difficult life, and there are a lot of problems in his life, how is he going to get over the problems if he's walking around select or if he's usually besimcha? Of course, besimcha helps you out, right? But Yiras Hashem, I should be constantly be here. I'm supposed to crawl underneath a table and tremble the entire time? The emes is, if you're on that madrega, yeah. But I'd like to suggest that Yiras Hashem is not only not disempowering, some people think it's disempowering, it's paralyzing, but Yiras Hashem can be absolutely, totally, and completely meshachar. It can free you to be great. Let me give you an example. There's a terrible disease that has ravaged humankind. It's called alcoholism. People make jokes about it, but there's nothing funny about it, because the life expectancy of an alcoholic who doesn't eventually conquer it is very, very short. It's a deadly disease. Alcoholism is a deadly disease. The alcoholic has the following choice. Real bechira in terms of you and I who are not alcoholics, legabe alcohol, he doesn't have. Meaning, once he encounters the first drink, he cannot stop. He's an honest at that point. Once he encounters the first drink, that's it, he's gone. So what can the alcoholic do? The alcoholic can develop a very healthy respect and fear of his disease. And he could take the bottle of alcohol and be so afraid of it that he puts it in a safe. He locks the safe and he loses the combination. Then he takes a chain and puts it around that safe as well, locks it with a lock and loses the key. Then he takes the alcohol, the safe, and the lock, and he puts it all in the sub-basement of a house on the side of the street that he never walks again for the rest of his life. And you know what? He can accomplish the same thing as you and me. But the moment he encounters his first sip of alcohol, he's finished. There's nothing he could do. So depending on how much he fears his alcohol, that will decide how successful he's going to be in life. Yiras Hashem is, after especially you have a hava, and you see what it means to live life close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, davuk in the Bari Olam, to be loving with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem loves you. There's no greater feeling in the world, Rabbi say. To be deadly scared of losing that and figure out what weaknesses do I have that take me away from that. That's true Yiras Hashem. Where's my weakness? Study it, understand it, master it, and live it. And then every person can have the same life as anybody else who has fewer challenges. Yiras Hashem is empowering. Yiras Hashem gets the nonsense that will bring you down out of the way. If you're going to try to train to become a champion, whatever athlete you're going to be in life, I don't know, a champion boxer. So they want you to be able to concentrate on your boxing, and they rent for you a place in the middle of the winter in the Catskill Mountains. It's a cabin, a bungalow without heat. And over there, they work you like crazy. It's a pretty bad idea to have the freezer stocked with ice cream. Got it? Figure out. Get the nonsense out of the way. What can bring you down? And divorce yourself from it. Get rid of it. Make shmiras, have takbulas to make sure that you're not going to be entrapped by that. And then you could be as successful as you want to be. Maybe that's why in certain minyan mitzvahs, ahava comes first. Because you have to have something to lose, something to be afraid of losing. So once you have ahavas Hashem, you know what that is, that a person should walk around with every fiber of his being mavarchas HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be like a lebedik and nishmas kol chai. It's unbelievable, right? It's a wonderful existence of life. And to lose that would be the worst thing in the world. So it's a constant. So what's the constancy of it? So this Rambam in Sefer HaMoreh talks about the mitzvahs of ahavas Hashem and yiras Hashem as twin mitzvahs that have to coexist all the time. You can't do one without the other. I made a bracha before. I'm just leaving. They work in tandem with each other. And we can understand this. If a person has only ahava, then it's not so good. If only yira is also not so good. In fact, some of us grew up, and the only reason that we did what we were supposed to do is because we were afraid of our parents. And then a shocking thing happens, and we reach our parents' height, we're no longer afraid. And for some of us, that becomes a big challenge. Right? So the perfect mizug is ahava and yira. So I, of course, being who I am, I compare it to a car. I compare almost everything to a car. Cars are a fantastic mashal for a lot of things. Let me tell you what the mitzvah Havas Hashem is. Mitzvah Havas Hashem gives energy. It's like the accelerator pedal on the car, the gas pedal on the car. You push down on the pedal, you put the pedal to the metal, and boy, you're flying, you're moving. There's energy, there's wind blowing through you. It's mamish havla fella. But what happens if in that car you don't have the most important safety equipment, which is what? Brakes. You're going to go and go and go and go right into someone else's living room, or maybe your own. What you need to get to where you're going to get to safely is you need to have a gas pedal and a brake pedal. A brake pedal is the yiras Hashem. You apply it as needed. A brake pedal, you have to have a brake that's in good working order all the time. The constancy, the tamidus of the mitzvahs is make sure that your brake pedal, that your yiras Hashem is in good working order all the time. Und es geht nicht an kemusser. Hashkafa, whatever you want to do, it's fine. But you have to, b'daftoni yiras shamayim. You have to work at yiras shamayim. Because unfortunately, if you don't work at it, then a problem could happen. What happens when you first get in your car in the morning and you start the car? Where's your foot? It's on the brake pedal. Most cars today, especially have the remote or the button, you can't start it without. You want to put it into gear, your foot's on the brake pedal. You can't put any car today into gear from the brake pedal. Why is that? Because if you get into the car and you put your foot down on the brake pedal, you're about to start moving, and the brake pedal travels all the way down to the floor. It's got nothing to it. You're not going anywhere today because you can't be on the road without a brake. We have to test our yiras shamayim all the time. And what's the second thing you say? Reishis Chachma, Yiras Hashem. Ooh, you're not feeling it this morning? Then you know what? You're not going anywhere today. Sit down, open Orchas Tzadikim, and get busy. Because you can't. If chas v'sholom, a person makes a mistake in life, a chet is called a mistake. Lachtias hamatorah, right, means to make a mistake. It's a blunging. Person blunges. Like a person in a car breaks it out, where he gets into an accident. What do? You take the car into the garage, and you fix it. Because you're not going anywhere till you fix your brakes. You have to fix your brakes. You need brakes that are in good working order when? All the time. It's a constant. You're learning Pirkei Avos, you're learning Musa, whatever you're learning is fine. But you have to pay attention to your Shemayim. It's a constant. And a person doesn't pay attention to your Shemayim before you know. But neither can you go only with Yira. Can you imagine driving the car with your foot on the brake all the time? Those of you who are mechanically inclined, number one, you know that the brakes will stop working immediately because they overheat. And it works through friction. That's how it stops your car. And number two is you grind them down. Eventually they don't work either. You can't live only machmas yira. You live machmas yira at some point. A lot of people are not afraid anymore. You fear, nothing else. You have to have hava too. So the perfect mizug is to have them work together. In life, go machmas ahava, but stop machmas yira. And if you don't have kalim that could stop you, you're in big trouble. So make sure that your kalim are in good working order all the time. Pay attention to your yira factor, your fear factor. Which brings us to the last of the sheish mitzvahs tmidios. The last one is also a loisase v'loisasuru achrei levavchem v'achrei nechem asher atem zeinim achreihem. V'loisasuru, don't stray after levavchem. What's levavchem? The base, desires, and passion of the heart. V'achrei neichem, the base, desires, and passion of the eyes. Zok the Gemara, achrei levavchem zu minus. And achrei neichem is already a rayas. The question is, didn't we just speak about Yiras Shamayim? We just spoke about Yira. So if I have Yira, why do I need another Isra of Eloy Sasur achrei levavchem achrei neichem? Muzdach Zayin, it has to be the teretz is, that there are things in life that are so alluring, they're so magnetic, they pull us so much that all the Yira in the world is not going to help, and you need a separate Isra of Eloy Sasur achrei levavchem, that you got to cut it off at the pass even before it starts. You got to wear a t-shirt that says, just say no. And what is that? Zu minus. Was heißt minus? So Rabbi Noach Weinberg used to say, what's the ultimate minus? The ultimate minus is not just denying HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The ultimate minus is ich bin. Megalomaniacs. People who somehow believe that they are the center of the universe. People have such huge personalities that they think that they're the center of the universe. It creates in us a blind drive for power and ambition. And there are people who get hooked on power to such an extent that they don't mind destroying the world around them as long as they get what they want. V'achrei neichem, dvarim that go counter to tznius. And that's taiva. So one of them is the drive for power, and the other one is taiva. And you could have people who otherwise are bal Yiras Shamayim, but sometimes they get into a position, if they're not careful before they know it, they become somehow filled with their own essence, and they become blindly ambitious, and they're fiddling while Rome burns. They do things in their place of business. They do things that destroy the people around them. They destroy their families. They destroy their coworkers. They destroy their companies. When you marry the two together, it's neirevayim, the destruction that takes place. When you have people who have these joint drives, this blind drive for power, and they mamash meshukah the taivas at the same time, they could be president of the United States of America, be the laughingstock of the world for a couple of years. Should be even today also, but what are these people thinking? And the answer is they're not thinking. Because these things cause you to stop thinking. Because this kind of drive for power and this kind of taiva, it's meshaker, it's intoxicating. There's a great fallacy in the world. People say you can't drink and drive. That is patently untrue. It's not true. It's not true. You can drink and drive, just not very well. And you don't notice the collateral damage that you're doing. And you're ripping off people's side view mirrors in the beginning, and then until you wrap your car around the pole, and you get out and say, oh, I'm a great driver. Unfortunately, we're not incapacitated when we indulge in these taivas. And these are bigger than people. The Torah is being made that we have these things. The Gemara talks about, they tried to stop the Yetzer Hara, they tried to stop the taiva, and the world stopped reproducing. The chicken wouldn't lay an egg anymore, right? So it has to be there. But recognize how big and powerful it is, and make sure that you have shmiras. Make sure you have a shmir in your life. Make sure you do what you need to do, not to fall into the trap. Because when you put these two things together, it's so powerful, it's kind of like a roller coaster. A roller coaster on the way up, you could stop it. If you need to stop it, you could stop it. But once it breaks over the top and it picks up speed going down, all the brakes in the world, remember the Yiras Hashem, all the brakes in the world will not cause it to stop. It will derail and crash. Once a person gets caught up in a certain pattern, once a person gets caught up in these twin gefährliche base desires that a person has, then there's no way to stop. And the person has to crash and burn Chalila. Hashem says, I know what it's all about. Don't think for a moment that you're bigger than these forces. Ein apotropos. When it comes to these things, ein apotropos. Sheish mitzvahs tmidiyos. If you want to use it to be more successful in your business, go right ahead. You want to use it to be more successful in school, go do what you want to do. But the emes is that the sheish mitzvahs tmidiyos are much more than simply an eitzah for some success. The sheish mitzvahs tmidiyos define the relationship we have with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. As Hashem lekecha tira, uvoy sidbak. The dveikus in Hashem that we have, how is that defined? The lachta b'drachav, how is this defined? And I'd like to to posit before you tonight that this is how it's defined in the Sheish Mitzvahs Tmidas. These are the midais, these are the shiurim, this is the approach, these are the tilbulas, these are the strategies, this is the maracha of how a person comes to that. And Rabbi say the most important thing that we have to do this time of year is to repair our relationship with Avidah Shabbat. The most important thing to do is, if you think about Reb Chaim Shmulevitz asks a Gavaldik Akasha. He says, we all know, we say all these segulas, that the Satan shouldn't stare at Tkiyah Shofar, right? And we say that the Tkiyah Shofar itself, the Satan thinks that it's Shofar Shemashiach, and it wird zertreißelt den ganzen, right? And we got, fragt Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, was treißelt there? Is he such an amnesiac? Doesn't he remember last year, Klal Yisrael blew Shofar, they didn't do tshuva? Didn't bring Mashiach? Doesn't he remember the year before, and the year before? They never did tshuva before. So what's the pshat? Why is he afraid every single year? Zok Reb Chaim, because the Satan is smarter than us. And he knows that we're capable of doing it. He knows that Klal Yisrael can do it. And he's afraid maybe this is the year when they get their act together. And he's terrified of it. Rabbi say, Elul zani l'doidi v'doidi li. We spend the month repairing the relationship we have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we're still in Galus. And we did it last year, but we're still in Galus. So I'd like to suggest maybe it's more than a tweak that's necessary. Maybe it's more an adjustment to our tefillah. Maybe it's more than another chumrah we take on. Maybe this year we have to go back to the engine of the car and see if there's a problem with the engine and retune the engine. Because the ikar is the relation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The ikar is the ani l'doidi v'doidi li. Let's do what we can do to mechazak ourselves in these inyanim. Let's remember the Sheish Mitzvahs Tmidas. Let's review it quickly. The first mitzvah is Leidul Lahamish Yeshem Leika. Second one, Ein Zul Asai. The third one, Yichudai. The fourth one is Ava. Fifth one is Yira. And the sixth one is Veloisa Suru. Let's remember them. If you need a refresher, look in the Bir Halacha and Onheb Arachayim. Take a look in the Sefer HaChinuch. You can look it up. But to study it and to know it, because it's not likely that we can really be mechazak ourselves in these mitzvahs if we don't know about it. So at least have an awareness. At least if we have a moment when our mind is idle, you're sitting on a bus and you're a little bit bored to review the Sheish Mitzvahs Tmidas. Rav Noach Weinberg's eitzah was that with each of the krichas, you review another one of the Sheish Mitzvahs Tmidas. But Rabbi say, however you choose to do it is beautiful. However you choose is gavaldik. But the ikar is, Rabbi say, we have to grow, we have to mature, and we have to raise ourselves up to the point where we taka Bezer Hashem this year. We're going to have a ksivach simatayva. It should be a shnas geul of Yeshua. It should be zeichet taka bekabel. Mashiach b'tzideh tzedkei b'hem. Amen.
Shay Mirgan Shri Torah, my says Boston, like to be Gashakayach, Rabbi Milstein from Inspiring Drosha. Our boys say not to diminish in any way from the chshivas of the 6 mitzvahs tmidiyos, but Chazal say the Talmud Torah connected kulam. You could have a schus in Abotzas HaTorah of Mirgan Shri Torah by sponsoring one of the remaining 4 shiurim of the summer. This is how, with your support, Mirgan Shri Torah brings these shiurim to you and the community and the world at large. Also remind them about the Irgun Shir Torah's annual dinner on Wednesday night. The dinner, due to space limitations, is for men only. However, everyone is invited to have a chelik in Abotzas Torah Irgun Shir Torah by supporting Irgun Shir Torah. You can call 718-851-8651 or email tapecenter@yeshivanet.com. We'd like to give a big yashakayach to Mr. and Mrs. Mendel Weinstein for sponsoring tonight's shir. Lili Neshamay Sarah Bas Menachem Mendel, Bas Kalman ben David, Fege Bas Mordechai, Yosef ben Mordechai, Avram Leib ben Pinchas David, Yitzchak Isaac ben David, Yudah ben Ephraim, Aleim HaSholem. CDs of tonight's share will be available shortly. Yashikar, everyone for coming. Chananya ben Akashim, Ratzak HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lezakis Yisrael, Fege Hebron Torah, Mitzvah Shnema, Lenoi Chofetz, Eman Tzidka, Yagdol Torah V'Yader.